Hi everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer, talking to you about the events of April 2016. Just basically want to talk to you about the different retrogrades that are going on this month. Now, we already had Saturn go retrograde at the very end of March in Sagittarius, and Saturn goes retrograde once a year. It will be retrograde until, let's keep all track of all this, the middle of August. And right now, let's see, it's April 6th. Mars is also slowing down to go retrograde, and that's going to turn around on April 17. They're both retrograding in Sagittarius. So Saturn retrograde, I mean, it was slowing down all through March. It just turned retrograde. It's just, I mean, Saturn itself is a planet of going slow, so it probably doesn't care if it's going retrograde or not. But now it's starting to go a little faster, but not too much faster. And then Mars, oh my gosh, if there's one planet that does not want to go backwards, it's Mars. Or at least it doesn't want to be sitting still. Maybe going backwards, at least we're moving, right? But that slowing down, that's really been going on since the end of March, and then it won't go retrograde till the middle of April. These next, up until mid-April, it's pretty tense for people because Saturn's already did that grind turning around, and then that Mars is like, so people can be really tense. It can feel like, because both Mars and Saturn in a way are about goals and meeting those goals. They're in the sign of Sagittarius, which is about faith. So you can feel like, I'll never get there, I'll never do that, I'll never make it. The good thing about both of those planets, Mars and Saturn being retrograde, is you can say, all right, what is working, what isn't working, and to be able to see what part of you is being impatient and things, which is the Mars retrograde, and things just kind of need the traction underneath it of the Saturn, that they are in process, but it's slow growth, or you're not seeing the growth yet, but you kind of need to discern that versus just kind of random ideas, because I think what's better when both Mars and Saturn are retrograde, instead of just doing something to do it, when you meet a lot of resistance, like your head butting up against the wall, like that Mars going up against the retrograde Saturn, boom, boom, boom. Instead, it's like, what's the more long-term goal? And taking small steps today that pan out later and being able to see the results later. So the Saturn, like I said, doesn't go direct until August. Oopsies, I did not hung up my cell phone. Mars retrogrades, like I said, April 17, and it stays retrograde until the end of June. And then what's going to be very interesting, excuse me while I shut my cell phone off, I usually have it in another room. Okay. What's going to be really interesting in August, and again, this is down the road and we'll talk about it later, but it's going to be August 24th that Saturn has gone forward now finally, Mars has gone forward, and they catch up to each other, and they conjunct, actually be at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. And those be very interesting. And if you have anything at 9 degrees, kind of any sign, but especially of fire signs or mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Sag, or Gemini, that could be very interesting if something around that 9 degrees, because whatever's going on now while Mars is about to turn retrograde is some sort of massive fulfillment here in August when Saturn and Mars are both going forward and work together. So it's like hanging in there to see the results, which is the thing. And Mars wants immediate gratification, and at least, am I going in the right direction? And it's, I guess it's just being in some sort of faith that you are, but then again, it's so tricky because the Saturn retrograde in Sag is helping people feel not very faith-centered either. So it's definitely tricky. I just had a friend who was a Sagittarian call me and say something about, I'm in a process, and it was like interesting because what she had to say was kind of difficult, but she was seeing it that it was a process as opposed to thrown into a box, a cement box or something, which Saturn retrograde can feel like, but instead that if it is Sagittarius, there is a story behind it. There is a reasoning behind it and a purpose. And if you can hang on to that, however frustrating it is, seeing those results, and maybe put that on your calendar, August 24th, something's going to be paying off at that time. Okay, so, and again, this stuff doesn't have to be dire, but it just feels so right now with the planets the way they are. Okay, then we're going to have Pluto also turn retrograde, which that does once a year. And that's going to be, again, the 18th, let's say, but that weekend of the 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th, both Mars and Pluto are going to be sitting still and turning around. Now, Pluto is what we say like Mars's big brother, They're similarly linked because they both are connected with Scorpio. And because before we discovered Pluto, Scorpio used to be with Mars. So Aries is now with Mars. And then Pluto went off with Scorpio there. But there's a connection between them because of that old-time rulership, we call it. So there's a similar energy. Mars is about power and anger, and so is Pluto, but Pluto's about more the bigger picture of things. So the fact that they're both stationing and turning around the same time is, again, a little tricky out in the world. People could feel very frustrated with all this. I'm sorry, my kitty is... This is the craziest video I've done, I think, of them. Sorry. I usually do them earlier, not at dinner time. So with the Mars and Pluto doing that, people in the real world, quote unquote, are definitely feeling tense and pushy and want their way and aggressive. And really what the spiritual purpose is, knowing that having inner power will help you have a footing to create the outer power. So again, it has to do with that weighting and centering that we were talking about with the Saturn and Mars stuff. So it's really a test of patience, dealing with everybody during that time, and dealing with yourself too. If you're on a spiritual path, you could feel like you want to freak out too. And but once we get past those, I think it's going to be a lot better. And so the second half of the month, I think, is going to be a lot easier. And, everybody's favorite Mercury retrograde, that happens at the very end of April. But, sometimes, and what day is that? I'm sorry, because everyone wants to know those dates. It's the 27th, 28th of April and goes until the 22nd of May. And in a sense, it's like that can be, sometimes Mercury retrograde can be kind of peaceful. Because it's retrograding in Taurus, so it's not like when it goes retrograde in some other signs, people can feel like it's worse. Why is this Mercury retrograde so bad? I think this will be a gentler Mercury retrograde, people not as irritated, more willing to take it easy, that the Mercury retrograde kind of gives that sense of slow down, it's okay, and that fits with the Mars and Pluto turning retrograde too. So, I think the best course of action here really, probably as a spiritual person, really being called on to support other people around you when they're feeling really off balance, either feeling, again, lack of faith, lack of vision for the future, or just general irritation. Being able to be gentle with people, compassionate, give them some hope. And if you can do some extra meditation time this month, that would be terrific for you. And again, I think a clearer picture is going to come in that second half of the month with the Mercury retrograde. So anyhow, it's funny, this video feels retrograde-y in the sense it was hard to get it done, and then, sorry with Kitty, but meowing. He must be a Gemini. I don't know his actual birthday, but he likes to talk. So if you'd like to have a session with me, that, you can find me at my website, alunamichaels.com, or find me, through the YouTube. You can ask me there on the comments. And, well, hang in there through this month and keep a sense of humor with these planets turning around. And I will talk with you next month, and so will Strummer.